Angela Nenna burst through the sliding glass doors of the reception hall, her dusty slippers slapping against the tiled floor. Her voice trembled but didn't break. "Please, I need to speak to Mr. Dominic Arinza. He's my father." Security guards were already moving toward her, their radios crackling. The young receptionist stared at her in disbelief. Behind her desk, she reached for a button under the table. Angela looked small, skin darkened by the sun, oversized school blouse soaked with sweat, and a faded backpack clutched like her last possession on earth. But her voice, sharp, raw, and full of something deeper than desperation, stopped the office. "Madam, please," one of the guards said, trying to be gentle. "You can't be here. This is a private company. He left my mother in the village with nothing," Angela shouted, tears forming but not falling. "Now she's dying, and you want me to keep quiet?" Employees started peeking from glass cubicles. Someone was filming on their phone. That was the day the whole city first heard her name. Just 2 days earlier, Angela had been sitting by her mother's bedside in the village. The Harmattan wind blew through the broken shutters of their mud-brick room. Her mother, Nguyen, struggled to breathe, her voice barely above a whisper. "Go to the city," she said, pressing a worn envelope into Angela's hand. "Find him. Tell him I forgave him. But I cannot die without knowing you are safe." Angela stared at the envelope. Inside was a photo from nearly 2 decades ago, her mother standing next to a tall, suited man in front of a company sign, Arinza Petroleum. "He's powerful," her mother added. "He can give you the life I couldn't." That night, Angela didn't sleep. She packed only her school notebook, her mother's medicine prescription, and the photo. At dawn, she walked to the main road and boarded a bus with money a kind church member had secretly slipped into her palm after service. The journey to the city was long and silent. Angela kept her eyes locked on the photo, her heart beat fast, not from fear, but from the weight of everything resting on this one chance. When she arrived, the city swallowed her. Tall buildings, impatient drivers, people who didn't look up. She showed the photo to strangers on the street. None cared. At a police checkpoint, an officer scoffed. "You want to find a billionaire with this old picture? Go home, girl." But Angela didn't stop. She walked until her feet blistered. She found the address on the building in the photo, Arinze Group Headquarters. She stood outside the gate for hours, ignored like a beggar, until now. Inside the company, chaos followed her outburst. A senior manager came down, angry at the scene. "Who let this girl in?" Angela repeated herself. "I'm Angela Nenna. My mother is Nguyen. She said Dominic Arinza is my father." The man narrowed his eyes. "Dominic Arinza has one child, a son, married. You think it's that easy to claim a name?" "I don't want his money," she snapped. "I just want him to see me, to see what he left behind." A silence followed. Then security dragged her out. But someone had already posted the video, and that night it went viral. The video of Angela's outburst spread like wildfire. Within hours, blogs had picked it up. Village girl claims billionaire oil tycoon is her father. Some mocked her. Others were drawn in by her voice, her fire, her pain. But none of that mattered to Angela. All she wanted was to be heard. That night, she slept on the floor of a small church beside the bus park. The pastor's wife gave her bread and water. "You're brave," she said gently, "but be careful. Power doesn't like to be embarrassed." Angela stayed silent. Her mother had always warned her. People with power can erase you without a trace. But her mother was also dying, and Angela had no time for fear. By morning, everything had changed. A black Prado pulled up to the church gate. A stern-looking woman in dark glasses stepped out. "Angela Nenna!" Angela stood slowly. "Yes. I've been sent by Mr. Dominic Arinza's office. Get in the car." She hesitated. "Why now?" "The board is angry," the woman said flatly. "You made your claim in public. Mr. Arinza wants to settle this quietly. He has agreed to a DNA test." Angela's heart thumped. She didn't know what scared her more, being proven wrong or being proven right. At the private hospital, they took her blood without speaking to her. The nurses acted cold, as though she'd done something shameful. The next day, she was summoned again. This time to the Arinza family compound. The compound was massive. High fences, 2 security gates, Uniformed staff moving like clockwork. Angela walked in with her backpack clutched to her chest. Her legs shook, but her eyes stayed firm. In the sitting room, a man stood with his back to her, facing a wall of family portraits. When he turned, Angela saw the same eyes from the photograph. "Mr. Arinze," she whispered. Dominic Arinze stared at her like she was a ghost. "You shouldn't have come." Angela stepped forward. "You knew my mother. You left her." He cut her off. "I don't remember every woman I've helped. This isn't the way to seek attention." "I'm not seeking attention. I'm seeking the truth." He said nothing. Then one of his aides handed him an envelope. He opened it, glanced, and then froze. He sat down slowly, hands trembling. "It's true," he said, almost to himself. "You're my daughter." Angela's throat tightened. She thought she would feel joy, relief, anything but this emptiness. "So now what?" she asked. Before he could speak, another voice sliced through the air. "Absolutely not." Angela turned to see a tall woman in a silk blouse step into the room. Her heels clicked against the tiled floor. She carried herself like royalty. "I am Diana Obioma, his wife," she said sharply. "You are not welcome here. You embarrassed this family in public. You don't walk in with your village shoes and get to claim a place at our table." Angela stood still, barely breathing. "She's a child," Dominic said, almost pleading. "She didn't ask to be born." Diana turned to him. "You will not disgrace me. If you let this girl stay, I'm leaving." Angela looked at him. Her father, the man she had dreamt about every night since she was 6. He didn't meet her eyes. "Take her to the guest quarters," he muttered. The maid led Angela through a back corridor. The compound suddenly felt like a cage. She was now a guest in her father's house, but not a daughter. Not yet. Later that night, as she lay on the hard mattress, someone slipped a note under her door. It read, "They'll never accept you. Leave now, while you still can." Angela crumpled the note in her hand, her chest tight with fear and confusion. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but the message was clear. "You are not safe here." Still, she didn't leave. She couldn't. Her mother was still in the village, getting weaker by the day. Angela had to stay and fight, if not for herself, then for the woman who raised her alone. By morning, whispers filled the compound. Staff avoided her gaze. The cook forgot to send her breakfast. The housemaid, with a thin smile, told her, "Ogre travel this morning. Madam Diana say no visitor should enter main house." Angela stayed in the small guest room, but she wasn't blind. She could feel the tension growing. Diana had turned the household against her. Then came the servant incident. Angela stepped into the courtyard that afternoon, hoping to speak with the driver about sending money to her mother. She spotted 2 young house staff sitting under the tree, laughing. One of them mimicked her voice. "Please, I am the daughter of Mr. Arinze. I came from the village." They burst into laughter. Angela's ears burned. She turned to walk away, but stopped. "No," she whispered to herself. She turned back. "Say it again." The 2 workers froze. The girl smirked. "Or what?" "You'll go crying to Ogre." "I said say it again," Angela snapped. "Mock me to my face. Let's see if your courage matches your gossip." The older of the 2 stepped forward. "Don't raise your voice here. You're not madam. You're not even family. You're just a village mistake they let in." Before she could respond, a firm male voice cut through the air. "Apologize to her, now." Angela turned to see a man walking toward them in crisp native wear, eyes sharp, jaw tense. "I said apologize." The workers stuttered, then mumbled quick apologies before scurrying off. The man turned to Angela. "Are you all right?" She nodded slowly. "I'm Charles Ikenna," he said. "Dominic's younger brother. I came back from Port Harcourt this morning. I saw the news. You handled yourself well." Angela looked at him, unsure if he was genuine. "Why help me?" "Because I believe the truth deserves protection, no matter how inconvenient." That night, Angela sat alone in the garden. Charles brought her food, jollof rice, fried plantain, and fish. "No one else here believes I belong," she said softly. Charles looked at her, then proved them wrong. Not by shouting, by standing tall. The most dangerous thing in this house is a girl who knows who she is. Angela barely ate. That night she called the village pharmacy. Her mother had collapsed that morning. They needed money immediately for medication. Angela didn't have a kobo. She went to the main house, swallowed her pride, and knocked on Diana's door. The woman opened it, her face tight with annoyance. "My mother is very sick," Angela began, voice trembling. "She needs medication. I need 80,000 naira to send home." Diana folded her arms. "And why would I give you that? I'll pay it back. You have no job, no name, no place here. And you think you can just ask?" Angela's voice broke. "She's dying." Diana stared at her a long moment, then smiled. "Fine, I'll send the money, but understand something. Everything you get here, food, money, even respect, comes from me. Not from Dominic, not from any bloodline. You belong here only because I allow it." Angela stood frozen. "Say thank you," Diana whispered. Angela blinked back tears. "Thank you." She turned and walked away. She didn't see the smirk on Diana's face, or the small red bottle Diana tucked into her purse labeled "Herbal Tea, for daily use only." Angela woke up the next morning to find her guest room door wide open. Her bedsheet was rumpled, the window curtain swaying with the breeze, but something was off. Her backpack was gone. Her chest tightened. She stepped into the corridor. No one was around. She walked faster past the servants' quarters and into the courtyard. A cleaner looked up at her nervously, then quickly looked away. "Have you seen my bag?" Angela asked. No answer. Within an hour, everything spiraled. Angela had barely finished asking around when two men in security uniforms grabbed her roughly near the compound gate. "Let me go," she cried, struggling. But they shoved her into a tinted van waiting nearby. The engine started instantly, and before she could scream again, a handkerchief covered her nose. Her world faded to black. She woke up hours later in a dimly lit warehouse. Her arms were tied. A hooded man stood over her. "Finally," he muttered. "Dominic Arins's little scandal." "Who are you?" Angela croaked, her throat dry. "You want to know who I am?" he snapped. "I'm someone tired of watching rich men pretend their sins don't exist. Your father ruined lives. Now he will pay to save yours." He walked to the corner and grabbed a phone. "We're asking for 15 million naira. Tell him that when he calls. If he refuses, we'll send a piece of you back to that mansion." Angela's voice trembled. "He won't pay." The man turned. "Why?" She swallowed. "Because I'm not worth that much to him." The man stared at her, unsure whether to laugh or feel sorry. Back at the Arinza compound, chaos broke loose. The call came at noon. Dominic Arinza stood in the center of the living room, his hand shaking as he listened. "She's been taken," the voice said. 15 million naira in 48 hours or she disappears." Diana was sitting with a glass of wine. 15 million naira, she scoffed. "That girl again." "This is what happens when you entertain village drama." Dominic's voice was low but firm. "She's my daughter." Diana stood slowly. "She's a mistake. You're about to lose your business credibility over her." Charles, who had just returned from a meeting, interrupted. "Enough. She's family. We need to act now." Dominic nodded. "We'll pay." "No," Charles said. "We'll find her. I have contacts in the police." He turned to Dominic. "But you need to tell the full truth now. Why did you abandon her mother? Why didn't you know about Angela until now?" Dominic's jaw tightened. Silence fell. Then quietly he spoke. "My father paid her off. He offered Angela's mother 200,000 naira and a sewing machine, if she disappeared. I was just starting my company. They told me she'd gone back to her village and wanted nothing more to do with me. I believed them." Charles's eyes narrowed. "You never looked for her?" I was young, foolish." Charles shook his head. "Now you have a second chance, don't waste it." Angela sat on the cold floor, her wrists bleeding from the rope. Her captors argued quietly in the corner. "She's just a child," one muttered. "This isn't right." "She's our ticket," the other hissed. "We need that money." Angela's mind wandered to her mother, lying weak in the village. She imagined her struggling to eat, asking for her. "Please, God, don't let her die before I get back." Suddenly the door burst open. Gunshots echoed. "Police, down! The kidnappers dropped their weapons." In the middle of the confusion, Charles ran in and untied her. Angela looked up, dazed. "Uncle Charles, I told you you'd be safe," he whispered. "I'm here now." That night, Angela was back in the compound, wrapped in a thick blanket, her body shaking. Dominic walked in slowly. "I failed you," he said, kneeling beside her. "I failed both you and your mother." Angela didn't respond. He opened a small wooden box. Inside was a necklace, a silver chain with her mother's name engraved on the back. "She gave it to me when we first met," he said. "I should have given it back long ago." Angela took it, her eyes burning. But just as he stood to leave, a loud scream came from the main house. The cook ran in, panicked. "Madam Diana! She collapsed!" Angela rushed into the main house, just as the paramedics wheeled Diana into the private clinic on the compound grounds. The house was in chaos. Staff whispered, tension thick in the air. Charles stood beside her, shaking his head. "They said it was her heart," he muttered. "She collapsed during lunch." Angela's stomach churned. The same woman who had tormented her was now clinging to life. She should have felt relief, but instead she felt a strange, heavy ache. She turned to one of the nurses. "Please, can I see her?" The nurse looked unsure. "Only for a minute." Inside the clinic room, Diana lay hooked to machines, her face pale, her lips dry. Angela stepped closer. For the first time, Diana looked small, fragile even. Angela whispered, "You didn't have to hate me. I never wanted to replace you." Diana stirred weakly. Her eyes fluttered open. "Your mother," she rasped. Angela leaned closer. "I was the one who sent the note. The tea." Her voice cracked. "I thought if I could scare you off, he'd forget." Tears welled in Angela's eyes. "You poisoned her." Diana didn't answer. A soft beep from the monitor grew louder. The nurse rushed in. "Please step out." Angela stood frozen. She looked at the woman who had tried to destroy everything and instead lost her own peace. She walked out, silent. Later that evening, Dominic called for a family meeting in the compound's central courtyard. Angela stood beside Charles. Staff members gathered as Dominic raised his voice loud enough for all to hear. "Years ago, I made a mistake. I failed a woman who gave me nothing but honesty. And I failed a daughter who deserved better. Today, that ends." He turned to Angela. "From this day forward, your name is Angela Nena Arinze. And this house, this family, everything I have, is as much yours as anyone else's." Gasps rose. Some clapped. A few scoffed. Angela stood frozen. "Do you accept?" Dominic asked. Angela looked at him. She saw no arrogance now, no businessman hiding behind pride, just a father, tired, humbled, and trying to make things right. She nodded. "I accept, not because I need your name, but because I've earned it." 1 week later, Angela traveled back to the village. She entered the small room where her mother lay. Nguyen looked thinner, but her eyes still sparkled when she saw her daughter. "You made it back," she whispered. Angela knelt by the bed, tears rolling down her face. "I did. And I brought help. They're transferring you to a hospital in the city tomorrow. Proper care, Mama, the best." Nguyen smiled faintly. "You look like him, but stronger." Angela laughed through her tears. "Don't say that." "I mean it," her mother said. "He gave you a name, but I gave you your fire." Angela pressed her forehead gently to her mother's. "You gave me everything." A few days later, in the Arinze compound, the courtyard was decorated with small lanterns. A quiet celebration was held, Angela's 18th birthday. Jollof rice, moi, grilled chicken and pepper soup filled the air with warmth. For the first time, Angela laughed freely. Charles handed her a wrapped box. Inside was a silver bracelet. On the inside it read, "To Angela, a daughter worth fighting for." As the sun dipped below the horizon, Angela stood and addressed everyone. "I came here as a stranger, unwanted and dismissed. I stayed because of my mother's faith. And today I stand not just as a daughter, but as proof that no matter how forgotten or ignored you feel, your voice can still shake walls." She looked to her father, and sometimes even open hearts. Dominic clapped. visibly emotional. So did Charles. Even some of the staff, once cold, smiled warmly. Angela closed her eyes, feeling the breeze on her skin. She had found her name, her place, her family, and she had done it with her head held high. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment at the comment section below.